exploring the bizarre. Your e-ticket ride into the world of the paranormal. Strap yourself in as we traverse the universe exploring the unexplained. UFOs, ghosts, lost worlds, cryptozoology, as well as other dimensions. It's time to take back the night. Now, your electrifying hosts of Exploring the Bizarre, Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz.
Boy, is it smoky in here, and the body odor of some of these aliens. Wow. You want to hand me the drink menu, Tim? I want to see what the specials are here tonight.
Okay, are you just going to stand there at the bar and drink again all night? You know, nights here are like 5 of our Earth days, and that's an awful lot of Red Planet sangria.
Well, I can drink any Draco under the bar. Lizard tongue and all. Have you seen my friend with the 3 boobies? She promised me a lap dance. We were hitting it off so well until her 7-foot chupacabra boyfriend came along.
Okay. Well, you better be careful. It looks like that some of these aliens might be packing. They've heard we're working on that new book, Alien Lives Matter. It's okay to be gray. And some might take the title the wrong way.
Damn, that's some strong drink. Wonder what they put in these red planets.
God only knows. Okay, now get a grip before you fall on your face again, and they'll toss you out of the airlock. So we need to get back to the KCOR studios in Vegas and away from this interplanetary trash. I didn't see that.
I don't see these honeys as being trash. I don't know. I say, hey, there's that the 3-armed gal over there again. I still want that lap. All right, let's go. Don't push me out the airlock. Oh boy.
See, I beat you back again.
Yeah. You know, well, I was stumbling around a little. I have to admit those red planet drinks are pretty damn strong.
I like that. I like that bar though. We don't get a chance to go there very often.
No. I always have a good time. They got some really weird drinks and some really outrageous drugs. I mean, it's like wow. And the people. I mean, people. I don't know if you can call them people necessarily, but hey, maybe our guest tonight can tell us all about those that congregate at the interplanetary bar there. He seems to know an awful lot about space people of all types. And, so why don't you introduce our guest tonight? So get on with the show. All right, I'll put the drink aside.
Okay, all right. Well, Tim, I'd like to welcome back our good friend Craig CAMPOBASSO. Now, Craig's been on the show before, and we always have a great time when he's with us. So, just a little introduction for our listeners. Now, Craig is a filmmaker and an Emmy-nominated casting director. Fresh out of high school, he found himself working behind the scenes for 4 years on the film Dune, and he was later hired as casting director for the popular Christmas movie Prancer, starring Sam Elliott. He was also Emmy-nominated for casting David E. Kelley's Picket Fences. Craig has been casting for more than 3 decades and is an acting coach in the Los Angeles area. Now, Craig also wrote and directed the short film Strangers at the Pentagon, which was adapted from the popular UFO book authored by the late Dr. Frankie Stranges. In this film, Craig describes some of the 82 extraterrestrial species said to populate the universe, including their origins, physical characteristics, technological and mental abilities, and cosmic agendas. For his research, he met with many contactees as well as hybrids, claiming to be from various places around the universe. And this also included a female Mantis hybrid. We'll find out about that one. That sounds interesting. Yeah. So now Craig's gathered this information together for his new book, which we'll be talking about tonight, called The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, the ultimate guide to greys, reptilians, hybrids, and Nordics. So this book is a fun intergalactic romp that will inform and entertain all those interested in UFOs, aliens, ET, sci-fi, and fantasy fans of the Marvel Universe, Star Trek, Star Wars, and all the others. So, Craig, thank you very much for being with us once again on Exploring the Bizarre.
I'm so happy to be with my two favorite Tims in the whole wide world.
Well, how many other Tims do you know? Probably
just you guys.
Actually, there are a lot of Tims in the UFO field. It seems to be an unproportionate amount. But I think that I have an explanation for that. I'm always looking for synchronicities, but for this one I can't pack a wallet to. We were all born around the same year, after 1945 to 49, and Timothy was one of the favorite names used for male babies at that time. So So I don't really I can't include that in my big book of synchronicity. Now
I must have been a latecomer then too.
Yeah. Well, you were just a copycat.
I was named after Timmy on the Lassie program.
Well, I was named after the Paperboy. Or the Paperboy gave my mother the name. She told me she was asking people what names they liked, and she said the Paperboy said Craig, and she said I like that name.
She liked that too. That's great.
She liked that name, which I thought was great. But I have to say, you guys were talking about three boobies, and of course that goes to Total Recall. Mm-hmm. I worked on the original with Arnold, and I had those three boobies on my desk for about a week. And they got squeezed so many times. Oh, man. Because they made it, there was just latex. And then what they did is on the actress, they, glued it on and did that. So I wonder who has that now. I'm sure somebody at Carol Cove.
We went one step further when we did blood-sucking alien vampires. What the hell was the name of that? Jungle vampires. I can't remember the name of my own.
Skin-eating jungle vampires.
Jungle vampires. We had a giant vagina that it was so disgusting that I won't even describe it. And that was in my sister's garage for the longest time. Somebody would come in and comb it out or something like that.
Sounds like it was from a Woody Allen movie, an early one.
All right. Hey, I gotta pin you. I gotta pin you up against the wall here tonight.
Yeah.
Do you take this seriously? I mean, do you really know for a fact that there are 72 species of aliens?
Well, that would be 82, but there's
82,
there's way more. There's way more than that. But I decided on 82 because Paul Hellyer gave a talk once, and he talked about 82 races that he knew of that were visiting Earth.
How do you know this?
Well, I mean, first of all, it would take longer than the hour show to go into it. But as you both know, I have a book series called The Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga, and those books came about from visitations in dream states with master teachers in the universe. And it was a 2-year waking process from being a totally asleep 26-year-old to becoming fully awake at the end of 2 years. And at a certain point, they also ignited my light body, and I started traveling to other worlds and learning from other worlds. So a lot of information about other planets, how the Galactarian society is set up, is done through those books. So a lot of information is from there.
You are. Can we say that you are a direct channel?
Yes, exactly.
Well,
A channel, experiencer,
see.
you know,
Hey,
all,
yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of channeling, I have
yeah.
just made friends with, Tuella, who did the Ashtar books. Her
Oh, you're
great,
kidding.
her great granddaughter will be on the program in a week or two. She found me actually. She said she had been looking for me for a while. I don't understand that because I'm pretty damn easy to find. You just type my name in at Google, and
And there it is.
there it
Exactly.
is. It goes on for 27 pages the last time I counted.
Wow. Well, I don't know if you know this, but the very first person to ever channel Ashtar was George Van Tassel under Giant
Yeah.
Rock.
Well, yes, that may be true, but actually there was somebody else. Well, maybe they all did it at about the same time, because
Because
there
I
were a
think it
couple of
was,
early channels. Yeah,
yeah, I think it was around 1952. I've just done a lot
yes,
of research
yeah.
on George. So, yeah.
Well, George is
So,
always was one of my favorite contactees. I guess you would say. In fact, I
yeah.
remember being out there and talking to his nephew. They lived outside of the Integratron, but they weren't
They
allowed
did.
to. But they weren't allowed to go into the Integratron because George had been married twice, if you know, and
Right. Yes.
a different family tree. Anyway, there was a fellow there, Daniel Boone, who was part of
Yes.
a part of the family. A
Right.
long white beard and
Yes.
coveralls and the whole and the whole
Yes.
bit. Quite a character. And he told me about one night he was had to go to the outhouse. They had no, of course, running water or toilet inside, and so he figured he would just skip out naked onto the moonlight. After all, there wasn't anybody there except the spaceship landed and invited him on board. Uh,
Oh my
and
God. That's
and
amazing.
I don't know whether he went or not, but they didn't seem to be too they didn't seem to care too much. I guess on some planets there is some degree of nudity, and when they come down here, they slip on some tight fitting outfit or something like that.
Yeah. Daniel was married to one of George's daughters.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. The
Yeah.
family line gets a little bit confusing there, but
It does.
in the 1990 or so, we had a big tribute to the contactees down there in Palm Springs. We had the Wyndham Hotel, and we had Robert Weiss. The day the Earth stood still, he was our
Right. Right.
he was our keynote speaker, and we had a great day.
Wow.
We had a great day, and since it was the middle of summer, the hotel gave us all the facilities for free.
Oh my God. I would
Which they
love
were.
to have been there.
Oh, it was. Well, we taped not a videotape. We did do a lot of audio tapes. We used to tape all the speakers, and the tapes disappeared. I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
I have a massive file. But you're the guest here, and I'm running at the mouth. So, okay. So you had these experiences, and I was Frank Strange's the first. Did you know Frank before he passed away?
Oh, I knew him very well for the last 8 years of his life.
Oh, okay.
I saw him at least once a week for lunch or more, and spoke to him almost every day on the phone. But in the book also, because over all these years, like all of us who love this field. Me being an enthusiast, I know a lot of ufologists. I've gone on a lot of cases. I've actually took a picture of an extraterrestrial on a case, which I have at the very back of the book. And
it's in the new book.
It's in the new book. It's I call it the. You guys should have the book there because I had them send it to you both. Yeah. And then also there were a lot of books that I really really loved. As we know, Wendell Stevens did about 65 books from contact cases. So I got permission to talk about maybe 7 or 8 of them as well. And so those are in the inclusion in the book, like the Yargans, and, as a race that sort of looks like humans and seals. They were an amphibian race. And so it's just fascinating to see all these different cultures and their consciousness and out there in what I call the galactarian alignment of space peoples and planets, they all fully conscious beings. They share everything. They share their technology, all of that. But then within different races, they might have different looking models of it, or tweak it a little bit that makes it a little bit different, and things like that. So all of that is really what I found fascinating.
Now, how many of these races here are good guys, and how many of them are
I didn't count, but the good news is from what my guides tell me, most of the universe is primarily benevolent, and then of course we have the offshoot fractions that keep everybody on their toes. So
I was on a show last night, and we got to discussing the Tennessee bomber, and of course he was in one of he was looking for aliens, mainly reptilians, the serpent race, and apparently he had to track them down, and he thought that a lot of Hollywood celebrities, including the late Bob Hope, was a serpent or something. I don't quite see how he figured that out, but also, now the only one I always suspect is the Queen of England, because she wears a lot of green and yellows, and those are kind of like serpent colors or something.
Right. Yeah. I don't think Bob Hope was a serpent, but but
if he was, he was a rich one. That's the damn sure, because he owned all that. He owned all that property out there in Palm Springs. He bought it up when it was $2 an acre or something.
Right. Well, he also owned over 6 acres in Toluca Lake with that house there. I think every president all the way up through Obama stayed at that house from the time he was a celebrity. I actually got to tour the property. It was after he passed. And oh man, it has the most unbelievable vibration energy there. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I don't know if you guys got to this part in the book, but what's quite interesting is because I've written this book for MUFON Books, which is an imprint of Red Wheel Weiser.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I knew Don Weiser, the original Weiser. I mean, they had a bookstore, of course, in Manhattan. It was street level, and down below was all their esoteric books.
Right. And I'm writing another book for them now. So I have a biological father, which I never knew. I found out when I was 12 years old that my father was my stepfather and that I had a biological father. Interestingly enough, about 2 years ago, I met a genealogist who found him for me. He had passed away. Long story short, I got a hold of somebody who knew him. I went to the cemetery and they gave me the name of the person. And I contacted the person, and it happened to be his brother. And so I went to dinner with his brother and one of his sons, and I'm very close with them today. And anyway, at dinner, he tells me, "Oh, by the way, your father was in the Air Force and he worked for Project Blue Book."
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what year? Under what regime would that have been?
I have no idea. No, they didn't know a thing. They said he would never talk about it. He said his two sons tried over the years to get him to just give him any little tidbit of information, but it would have been back in the late 50s, probably into the early 60s.
Yeah,
I'm not sure exactly.
That would have been
dates.
Probably a quintanilla then, do you think? Or?
Could have been. Yeah, Hector, right.
Yeah. In fact, the what is his name? A friend, the fellow that just died. He was a Tuscaloosa airman.
Right.
Friend. Yeah, he just passed away at age 99. I think he was. He was one of the last of the airmen. There's still a few surviving ones. But,
wow, amazing.
Yeah, but okay. So, have you met the space person face to face? I mean, in physical form?
Not that I know of, but there has been times where I've met people where I really felt that they weren't from here, but they didn't identify themselves. So back in the early days, in the early contactees, there were ways like Howard Menger. There was when space people, because they were around him so much, he would know that it was them because they had an 8-off strange handshake, and then he would know that they weren't from here.
Howard was a pretty peculiar contactee. I knew him and Connie.
Right.
I wouldn't say they were close friends, but they would used to come to our conference. I remember they drove across country from I guess Florida to I guess it was San Diego. We gave a show. Now they showed up 2 days late. I think they're a little. They were hauling a saucer behind their van or behind their car. You know, he made model saucers, one of which he claimed actually took off and flew from his home there in High Bridge to somewhere in Pennsylvania, and the FBI come looking for him and all wanted to know how he managed to do that. He was a tinkerer, I guess you would say. Yes. A gadget man.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I flew down and met Connie when she was 95, right before she passed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The family seemed not to hold too much interest in it after he passed away. Where Tuella's great granddaughter that I talked, corresponded with yesterday, seems very interested in reading all the books and getting to understand the philosophy, and also she'll be on here and we'll talk to her about a great memoir.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna interrupt you here because we are coming up to our bottom of the hour break. So when we come back, we will continue our conversation with Craig and the 82 Extraterrestrial Species Almanac on Exploring the Bizarre. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to Exploring the Bizarre. I'm Tim Swartz. Tonight, our guest is Craig CAMPOBASSO, and we're talking about his book, The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. And Craig, I want to go back really quick
Sure.
To the story about you finding out the identity of your real dad. Not only was it fascinating that he was a part of Project Blue Book, but then you found out that there was something else that you two had in common.
Well, that what's in common is I'm writing books for MUFON, and he was part of Project Blue Book. But then when he left the Air Force and he came home, he met my mom. She became pregnant. She found out he was married with a kid. And so that's what ended that. So she didn't know that much about him. But he ended up going into the film business. and he was the head of construction over at Warner Brothers for many years for their TV shows and movies. And then from there, after he was there for a bunch of years, he started his own scenic shop and started designing and building sets for Hollywood Bowl, Elton John, Michael Jackson, Alice Cooper, Neil Diamond, etc. So we had this we have the same sort of DNA life going on, me being in the film business and being the casting guy who's into UFOs, right?
And he was the set builder into UFOs.
He was, I mean, amazing. Well, if I would have known him when he was alive, I would have gotten it out of him.
Right.
So in the course of your work there in Hollywood, have you run into any celebrities who've had UFO experiences?
Oh, yes. I talk to celebrities about it all the time. Even movie stars that I've worked with have had major experiences that they shared with me. And or they were firm believers in it. And I used to ask everyone pretty much who came in the office, I would say, if a benevolent beings came down and landed and wanted to take you for a tour, would you go? And I would say over 75% said that they would go, and the rest were afraid to go because it was more of the unknown. It wasn't because they were extraterrestrials. It was just the fear of not knowing what was going to happen. So I always found that interesting. I remember fondly, I loved Anne Haney. She was in Mrs. Doubtfire. Mm-hmm. She was the older lady in Mrs. Doubtfire with gray hair. And I just remember her. She was just such a bright light. She said, "Oh, I would go in a minute. I would just go in a minute." We lost her years ago, but God, yeah, I meet these incredible people, and then when they pass away, it's so sad. We just had the 25th reunion of a spoof movie I cast 25 years ago called The Silence of the Hams, that starred Billy Zane and Dom DeLuise, and Dom played Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, and Billy Zane was Joe, middle initial D Foster, right? So, and I got every comedian known to man to be in it, including Mel Brooks, and it was just anyway. We did a whole thing. They just re-released it on Blu-ray and all of that. I forgot where I was going with that. What did you ask me before, Tim? See, all I have to say is
celebrities.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I used to do that. Of course, I got a couple of books on UFOs Among the Stars, and one on because when I was doing the tabloids, they bought the stories. I mean, as well. But of course, I was interested in that anyway, and geez, there were quite a few. I mean, that had, of course, UFO experiences. A lot among the musicians, of course, that seemed to be
right. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I know a few musicians who had major experiences, and not abductions, but more going on craft at night and learning, and then coming back and sort of trying to figure it all out. Just fascinating, but it was there's just so much, and so many people really are interested in the subject, and it's good that you guys have this show, and this book is helping people to create a dialogue about what could be out there, because really that's the next step that this planet's going to go into after everything it's just gone through, is that there is parts of disclosure have been coming out slowly but surely, and everyone's going to really want to know what's out there, who the good guys, who the bad guys, and what some of them look like. And just because they're from a certain part of the universe, there could be an array of different looking beings on different planets.
It's interesting that you would bring that up, because this is something that I have wondered for years. Is that the majority of UFO occupant sightings generally tend to be humanoid in shape.
Yes.
And you would think that with all the different planets and evolution across the galaxy, that you would have a really wide diversion of shapes and sizes and species. Yet it seems like all the ones that we've encountered here on Earth are humanoid. I mean, is there what's the explanation for that you've been given?
Well, all human life began in Lyra, and from Lyra it went out into Vega. So those are really the two oldest human settlements. And then they went out into the Pleiades and kept going out further and further and further. It is said then we sort of get into Orion, and we have good grays, bad grays. But what I learned in doing this from contactees is that grays is a negative connotation, and if a gray is from the good part of Zeta Reticuli, they would prefer Zeta human instead of gray, because they're fully conscious beings. They didn't go the scientific route that the other races went, and so. It's just fascinating to sort of see. But the most fascinating thing that I learned in doing this was all of these races have the where to create life from any type of DNA that they have. So DNA is really the most precious alloy in the universe, and so negative races can create aggressive races, soldiers, if they want to, and they have, and others can create biological entities like the chlorophyll-based EBs.
Yeah, the little big-headed, big heads, big eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always reported as being almost robotic in nature.
Yes, absolutely. And then what's interesting I put clones in there only because there are clones. I've actually seen a clone.
Really?
And it was the most disturbing feeling I ever felt, because it was void of a soul, but it had life.
Okay. Details here. Where did you run across this clone?
Well, I took some friends. Everyone knows I've been into this for a long time, so I would take little groups of friends to Sedona, and we would leave the hotel late at night, sometimes around 2 a.m, and we would go back and start to drive in Boynton Canyon. Now, there are bases back there in Secret Canyon, and nobody can get back into Secret Canyon anymore. It's all sort of blocked off because they built this whole golf course with beautiful homes, and so you really can't get back there. But 2 different occasions, as we were going into Boynton, the older looking 4-door sedans that were military issue was tan. There were 2 officers in the front and 2 clones in the back. And when I turned and I looked at them, it was, I went, oh my God, those are clones. Those are clones. And I've met somebody who has worked with clones, what was one of her jobs is to work with them and to get them to become sociable and to teach them social skills. And so I learned a lot about their characteristics and things like that, and then how they can make them more human through different breeding programs, et cetera, et cetera. So that's in there. And then another time I took a celebrity friend of mine, and we got up at 3 a.m, and this was when we could drive back to Secret Canyon. And as we were driving back, and mind you, it is pitch black out there. There is, you don't see anything. You just see the road. So it is a little jarring because you're way in the back. And as we were getting close to Secret Canyon, I crossed a blue beam. And I immediately stopped the car, and I looked at my friend and I said, "Did you just hear that?" And she said, "Yes." And we both heard, "If you don't turn around now, your lives will be forever altered."
Yeah.
And I said, "That's all I needed to hear. I'm turning around." And we went back to the hotel.
Enough said.
Yeah, enough said. You don't need to tell me twice. So,
are there other people on Earth, whether it be, corporations, military, government, what have you, who are also aware of what's going on, that, we're almost like a truck stop of the galaxy for a lot of these races?
Oh yeah. They know about all of them. They have them all cataloged. They've met with, excuse me, they've met with several of them. I can't tell you which ones. I don't know. But periodically, as we all know, being in this field, we'll run into somebody who was either a part of a government fraction or that type of thing. I can't tell you how many people in the government have called me over the years and said, "Valiant Thor is real." Right. And so there was one guy who even worked for the CIA. He said, "I can't tell you much." He said, "But Valiant Thor is real. That's all I'm going to tell you." And he said, "Think of that name as a title." And I went, "Oh, I never really thought of it that way." So that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, imagine if you work for NASA. What you see, we've seen what the astronauts have come out and talked about, and what they've seen, and lots of different people, and since writing this book, the people that have written to me and told me about beings that they've seen, beings I've never even heard of, or what they look like. So I think we are just this big hodgepodge here. In the far side of the galaxy.
Well, as I wrote one time, it seems like that Earth is like the Disneyland of this side of the galaxy. Everybody seems to want to come here and visit for a little while before they continue on their way.
Yes,
and I know that you said earlier that this is probably not all of the groups that potentially could be visiting
right.
Earth, but it are the ones that we know about from this galaxy, and considering how far apart other galaxies are, has there been any indication of visitors from outside of our galaxy?
Yes, and some of those were in the Wendell Stevens books. Some were, I believe, the Clermers. That one was called UFO Contact from Planet Clermer. I also believe the UFO Contact from Koldas. KOLDAS. That was really, really fascinating. Also, the Regalians. By the way, I found it fascinating that you could get all of these Wendell Stevens books in PDF form at UFOphotoarchives.com. His daughter Cece has them there. So people who love to read about the older contact cases are there. The Itapurians are really fascinating as well, which was UFO contact from planet Itaby Ra. I'm sure Tim Beckley has heard of all these books and read them back in the day.
Oh, yeah, well, and Tim has actually re-released a couple of Wendell Stevens books
nice.
recently. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I just wondered if, with visitors from other galaxies, if you are seeing life forms that really could be totally, completely different from the ones in this galaxy, or whether or not you see that the same kind of life that we're seeing in this galaxy permeates across the universe and the multi-universe.
Right. Yes. And by the way, the Aryan, it's interesting. They're called the Aryan race, but they're actually an Asian race called the Gi. It's GNE, and that there is also another Asian race that travels with them, and there's 12 people from their galaxy, or 12 societies from their galaxy that travel around on a mothership exploring as well. And but everything was pretty much human, except for the Regalians, which were a cross between human and lizards. They look like lizards. Not a aggressive race at all. They actually abducted a 14-year-old Cherokee girl, hooked her up to a device where they could talk to her. And she was able to remember the whole thing. She was not afraid. She actually had a great experience, and she remembered the entire thing. And then, of course, the UFO contact from planet Yarga, which is the beings that look like seals in a way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really just fascinating how life takes shape and form, and people are contacted. And what I found, and I don't know if you guys have found this interviewing everyone, is that when somebody is contacted, their soul is usually from that planet. Mm-hmm. And they are contacting one of their own, so that there is a fear erased. And usually they have some experience when they're young. I had experiences when I was young. When I was 10, I was pulled out of my body, went way out into the middle of the universe. The universe opened up. I felt the incredible unconditional love inside the universe. It went back in. I was back in my body, and then all of the questions that one asks themselves more later in life: who am I? Where did I come from? All of these things started running through my 10-year-old mind, and so we've all had them. And I would have these experiences as a kid. But I never told my parents. I would just have the experience, and then I would have contemplation on it right after, and then it was gone. And then I would, and then later in life, it's not that I ever forgot them. I just never talked about them.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people before. They will have, an ecstatic experience like that, so to speak. And some of them describe it as, they for a brief moment, they knew everything. They knew how the universe worked and what was going on. And then when that moment was over, it was gone. There's just just a residue. That, yeah, I knew everything, but now I don't.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting is when we become fully conscious and we are out of duality and we're using our heart to rule our mind, that is when we will have that experience every moment of our life. That's amazing to look forward to.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Craig, unfortunately, we've got about 3 minutes left in the show, so I want to give you the opportunity for you to let our audience know where they can find your current book, the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, all of your other books, your short film, if they can watch that someplace. So go for it.
Sure. We'll start with Stranger at the Pentagon. It's strangeratthepentagon.com. You can watch the short film there. I do have all of Dr. Frank's remaining books there as well, posters and the short film on DVD as well. If you have Amazon Prime, the short film is on Amazon Prime for free to watch. My autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga, the website is autobiographyofananet.com. All 4 books are there on the main page, and if you want to buy all 4, you can just click one button. And if you want to get the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, that is on the same website, autobiographyofananet.com. You just click on Other Books, and it's right there. And I also did a book for the 25th anniversary of The Silence of the Hams. And if you scroll down, it's under the ET Almanac. So, yeah, very fun. I had so much fun doing that book.
Well, I have to say that I've thoroughly enjoyed the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, and of course, I'm a big fan of your short film. I was a contributor monetarily to it, so
thank
so
you
happy
so
to
much.
See how successful it was. Real quick.
We're doing a documentary to the ET Species Almanac.
All right, great. Okay, for Tim Beckley and myself,
Hey,
have a great evening.
Up and away, back to the alien bar.
You've been listening to Exploring the Bizarre with hosts Timothy Beckley and Tim Swartz.